Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us here on Inside Winston Cup Racing. I'm at the Michigan International Speedway where preparations are underway for this afternoon's Miller Genuine Draft 400 NASCAR Winston Cup race. That race rolls off at 1 o'clock. Jeff Gordon will start from the pole. It's a pretty day here, but it is hot. Randy Pemberton is in our studios in Charlotte, North Carolina with a qualifying report as well as the other news. Good morning, Randy.
Good morning, Ned, and hello, everyone. Welcome to the morning edition of IWCR for Sunday, June 18th, 1995. Happy Father's Day. Today, the Winston Cup Tour takes to the newly paved Michigan International Speedway. The speeds are up, and Jeff Gordon is 7 for 14 in the pole category. Today, because it's Father's Day, we'll have a talk with Michael and Darrell's dad, Lee Roy Waltrip. We'll continue to look at the rookies. This week, we'll report on the new Skull Bandit, Robert Pressley. And we'll also have the inside scoop from the garage area in a moment. All that and more on this morning's edition of IWCR. Today's show is brought to you by Texaco Haviland Formula 3 Motor Oil. Add more life to your car. Cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft, making the world a very cool place. And by Goodyear, #1 in racing, #1 in tires. This segment of IWCR is brought to you by Texaco Haviland Formula 3. Add more life to your car. Well, if you like speed, you won't want to miss today's Miller Genuine Draft 400 at Michigan. 31 drivers broke the track record in first-round qualifying, and we're sure to see speeds over 200 miles per hour on the straightaways today. Right now, we're going to check in with Bill Weber for a quick pre-race report. Bill?
Thanks, Randy. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the third fastest facility on the Winston Cup circuit. This newly repaved 2-mile track was a launching pad for skyrocketing speeds in qualifying on Friday. The entire field broke the existing track record, and Jeff Gordon broke it by more than 5 miles an hour, soaring to his 7th pole of the season. For once, it paid off to have an early invitation to qualify. Ricky Rudd, Sterling Marlin, Mark Martin, Ted Musgrave, and Dale Earnhardt all drew low numbers, had fast cars, a huge cloud, and grabbed a spot in the top 5. Then the sun came out, and the next 25 cars ran and could not beat the early times, until Jeff Gordon painted a perfect lap of 186.611 miles per hour, 0.3 of a second quicker than second-place Rudd. There was some concern in post-qualifying inspection that Gordon's DuPont Chevy was a 1/4 inch too low. But following a second look, the car and the lap were allowed to stay, helping Gordon and company bounce back from their heartbreak at Pocono.
Well, you know, we like to bounce back. You know, that was a frustrating thing last weekend, and we're not going to let that get to us. That thing was pretty much put to bed the next day. I mean, I had to kind of, you know, take some deep swallows there and you know, swallow my pride. But, you know, I knew right after that race was over, I said, you know, we're going to be in good shape. I've known for a couple weeks we're going to be in good shape when we come here to Michigan, and I've looked forward to it, you know, for a while, and you know, so far it's proven me right, but we still got a long weekend left.
Sterling Marlin is second in points and will start the Kodak Chevrolet third after a qualifying run that has this team feeling pretty good.
Yeah, we do. You know, the Kodak team done a great job, and it was a little off, but kept working, beating on the car, and got her right in there. So I think we'll be in good shape for race. The track's in excellent shape. Track's real smooth, and looking forward to it.
The Miller Genuine Draft crew is ready to defend their title here today. Rusty Wallace rolls off 5th. 7-time champ Dale Earnhardt starts 7th, leading by 77 points after failing to qualify in the top 10 in 7 of the last 9 races. Qualifying is something this team's been working on this year.
Well, this week, you know, we really wasn't that good in Dover and Pocono and really Charlotte for that matter. And this same car I had at Charlotte, and we've done some fine-tuning on it. We tested it at Indy and did some work on it and tried to help it and tried to help ourselves. And then after last week's run, we felt, you know, we done some more stuff and tried to just sort of get more focused on practice and qualifying runs, and that's what we did, and it paid off for us. The car would come right in for us and work well.
New surface here at Michigan, how is it?
It's good. It's real smooth, and you know, it seems to be real forgiving. You know, you've got plenty of room to race on. I like to see the groove widen up a little bit, move up a little higher, and give you a little more room to, you know, if you need to race side by side or whatever. It's a little tight right now, but I think after this ARCA race today and then into the race tomorrow, we'll be okay.
Jeremy Mayfield gives crew chief Tony Furr and the RCA team much of the credit for his best qualifying run of the year. Full start 9th.
You know, every week it seems like we're a day behind, you know, as far as getting in the shop. We get everything kind of straightened out before race time, but not for qualifying. This week we seem to pull everything together for this RCA Thunderbird, and Tony Furr's really helped out a lot, bringing a lot of his knowledge over there, and it's really helped out a lot.
Bobby Hillen is in the U.S. Air Ford again this week. Darrell Waltrip starts 16th and plans to go the distance. Greg Sachs failed to qualify for the 4th time this season. That team has missed 3 of the last 5 races, sparking speculation in the garage that a shakeup may be coming before Daytona. And it appears Greg Sachs may be separating from that team. We'll be watching for official confirmation of that. We don't anticipate any trouble with the tires or the track here today, but it will be sunny and very warm, high in the low 90s. That's about it from here, except for one thing. Happy Father's Day, Dad. Cards in the mail. Honest. Randy, back to you.
Thanks, Bill. Hope the new pavement doesn't get too slick for the drivers today, but they're all running on the same track, even if Jeff Gordon did qualify in another time zone. Let's take a look at the top 10. 7 more poles will tie Gordon with Cale Yarborough's 14 set in 1980. He's looking for his 4th win of the season. Ricky Rudd goes off 2nd. He won this race in June of '93. Sterling Marlin starts 3rd. He continues to be a factor in his Kodak film Chevy. Mark Martin goes off 4th. He's trying to rebound from a disappointment last week at Pocono. Rusty Wallace is the defending champion. He's had only 1 top 10 since winning at Martinsville last month. He's quick, but they had to make an engine change this morning. Ted Musgrave continues to be the hottest driver on the circuit with an average finish of 6.5 in his last 6 starts. Dale Earnhardt will carry a roof cam today at Michigan. You don't get shots from the top of his car very often. Incidentally, that team made an engine change this morning as well. Dick Trickle with a good qualifying run. He flanks Earnhardt in row 4. And rounding out the top 10, Jeremy Mayfield and Lake Speed in row 5. The Unocal bonus today is over $91,000 if Gordon can pick up the win at Michigan, and they'll kick it off in just a couple of hours. We need to take a break. When we come back, Ned will join us from the shops of Darrell Waltrip. As we leave you, here's the rest of today's starting lineup. Happy Father's Day, Dad.
We're at Darwall, headquarters for the Western Auto Chevrolets, which are driven by Darrell Waltrip in the NASCAR Winston Cup Series. We're in the museum department, which houses a lot of the memorabilia and some of the cars that he drove in the past. You know, dads play an important role in the sport of auto racing in various ways. Lee Roy Waltrip, who's the dad of Michael and Darrell, is not directly involved in the sport, excepting to lend support to his sons. And believe you me, that is very important. We have a story on Lee Roy today, and that is our tribute to all you dads out there on Father's Day.
You know, we've just always been very fortunate to have a great family, you know. And had your problems with the teenagers as everybody else does, you know. But all those bad things turned into a lot of good things. So we don't even like to talk about the bad things, you know. We talk about the good ones.
Lee Roy Waltrip and his wife Margaret are the proud parents of 5 children. It's just that 2 of them are a little more famous than the others. But it didn't start out that way. It all started out in Owensboro, Kentucky, with Darrell driving go-karts and winning.
So then the whole Chevrolet come along, and we run a few races on dirt with it. And we did that in our own garage down there. A bunch of us guys got together, and we, including Darrell, and put that old 36 Chevrolet together and started winning races with that silly thing. So
today, Leroy is a familiar figure at the track. A youthful and energetic 72 years young, he is the voice of wisdom and the model of maturity. He worked until he was 65 and through the years watched and rooted as 2 of his sons made the steep climb to racing's highest peak.
Oh, it's absolutely turned out great. Nobody, including us, would have ever dreamed Darrell doing what he has done, really. And that guy, he had nobody to kick any doors down for him. He had to kick them all down. And to get started and do what he's done, it's amazing.
He did kick down a few doors,
Yes,
too.
he did, yeah. He run his mouth a lot, too, you know. But one thing, in running his mouth, he always did exactly what he told him he was going to do. And so finally he made a believer out of some of them, I guess. I don't know.
Like any father, Leroy is anxious to proudly celebrate the good times that lie ahead, a partial reward for the sometimes frightening moments of the past.
At Daytona for Darrell and at Bristol for Michael. Miracle Michael got out of that, you know. I remember Darrell called. We weren't there for that race. And DW called and he said, you know, he's okay. He's fine and dandy. But he made me so mad I could have killed him myself. He said, I'm having a big fit, you know, about him. I just know he's not going to come out of that thing. And I run over there and looked down in there, and he looked up at me and winked. And him sitting there flat on that blacktop with his feet sticking out in front of him with that junk all around him, you know.
Darrell and Michael don't need a special day to remind them they have a special dad. For them, every day could be Father's Day.
He worked so hard all his life, and he's been retired for 7 or 8 years, and he's taken up golf, and he really enjoys that. And he's been able to come to the races and relax and just have fun. And I'm so proud for him and happy that he's able to do that.
My dad is a typical middle America hero as far as I'm concerned. He started with absolutely nothing and provided for 5 kids. And we never wanted for anything. I mean, we never wanted for anything that we needed. There was a lot of things that we didn't need that we would like to have had. But when it came time to help me get into racing, we didn't have the money. There were 5 little mouths to feed. But somehow, some way, we raked, scraped, everybody sacrificed, and we bought go-karts, and we raced.
Oh, Leroy. I did that just for the camera.
Another thing Leroy Waltrip instilled in his sons is his sharp, cutting sense of humor that the boys picked up at an early age.
Well, yeah, I guess they did, Bill. I like to kid a lot, as you very well know, you know. If I can't rag you and have fun, I don't want nothing to do with you, you know. That's about the other thing.
Did you try and instill that in the boys?
Yeah, and they pretty well picked it up.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. Michael's a heck of a comedian, you know.
And so's his dad. So the next time you're at a race, watch for Leroy and be sure and say hello and make him feel at home, because this Waltrip is a long way from Owensboro.
Yes, indeedy. Yes, indeedy. Those boys are a long ways from Owensboro, Kentucky. Yes, to look at this motorhome of Darrell's over here and think, my God, you know, how did this ever happen? And but it has, and they're both doing great. I know one thing for sure: they've both given it 110%. If they're in victory lane, that just adds a little bit to it. If not, we're just as proud of it.
He's a fine individual. Leroy and his wife Margaret have a total of 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls. Of course, we know Darrell and Michael. Bobby, their other son, works here at Darwall. Carolyn, one of their daughters, works for Darrell in the business office in Franklin, Tennessee. Their other daughter, Connie, lives near them in Owensboro, Kentucky. We'll be back with the mailbox and a story on Robert Pressley right after this. The IWCR mailbox is brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft. Our question is from Ron Hovis from Hagerstown, Maryland. What qualifications must a driver have to drive in Winston Cup as a rookie, and when and how does a rookie graduate to the fully qualified driver status and shed the rookie classification?
Hi, I'm Jeff Burton, a driver of the Ray Bestis 4 Thunderbird. That's a good question about the rookie status. To be a rookie, basically you just can't have any run in Winston Cup races. To be for Rookie of the Year, you can't have run more than 5 races in any one season. But to actually come and race here, there's no qualifications other than just having some experience in some other form of racing. But the key is to compete for Rookie of the Year, just keep your limit to 5 races a year.
If you have a question, write to us at Inside Winston Cup Racing, Box 240417, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28224. If we use your question, you'll receive a Miller Genuine Draft Race Team Jacket and a copy of Speed Weeks 95, the official Daytona Speed Weeks commemorative book, signed by back-to-back Daytona 500 champion Sterling Marlin.
Robert Pressley is one of the top rookies this year in NASCAR Winston Cup racing, and coming up, we have a story on him. Now let's take a look at what's coming up next week right here on IWCR.
The Winston Cup Series takes a break next week, but the Busch Series returns to action on the road course at Watkins Glen. Terry Labonte is the defending champ, and we'll have the pre-race report from upstate New York next Sunday morning.
What if you could put together your own all-star team of Winston Cup drivers? Well, now you can. And each week you can race against the other teams on the circuit. It's a Winston Cup Fantasy League, and you can play along. We'll tell you how next week.
On behalf of the NASCAR family and all of the Winston Cup officials, we want to wish everybody a Happy Father's Day!
We now have moved into the machine room, part of the engine department here at Darrell. As we continue to look at the rookies in NASCAR Winston Cup racing this year, we focus this week on Robert Pressley, who drives the Leo Jackson Skull Bandit Chevrolets. Those are the cars that Harry Gant had driven in the past until he retired last year. Randy Pemberton has the story on Robert Pressley.
Robert Pressley's roots in racing are deep-seated. The son of a Southern short-track superstar, Robert's racing prowess was realized by a big racing fan by the name of Brad Daugherty back in 1988. That's right, NBA great Brad Daugherty. Brad took a shot as a Busch Series car owner in 1989 and assisted Robert in scoring his first big-time ride and first big-time win in Rougemont, North Carolina that year. In 1991, Pressley's potential for putting a car up front began to shine through continuously. He recorded 15 top 10 finishes and another victory that season. Robert won more races than anyone on the circuit in 1992, including his first super speedway victory, holding off the man that he would eventually replace in Winston Cup competition, Harry Gant. But things started to unravel for Robert in 1993. After being touted to replace the retiring Gant in 95, Pressley's relationship with his team began to splinter, and he eventually split from the Daniel Welsh team despite a couple of wins. And in 1994, that was a season Robert would just as soon forget.
No, last year was a disaster year for us. Really thought that, you know, I was going to come out with Bill Papke and the J&J Racing, and we was going to do good. And it really all started at Daytona whenever Bill signed the Who's Retired deal, and, you know, I didn't know anything about it. And it just got us, you know, we had 2 good runs at the beginning of the year, but we just went downhill from there.
But as Robert's Busch career began to falter, right next door in the Winston Cup garage, he was building his confidence and honing his talent to make a run at the 95 Winston Cup Rookie of the Year crown in the Chevys of Leo Jackson.
I passed up probably 8 or 10 good Winston Cup rides, you know, just to wait on this 33 car. You know, my brother's crew chief there, Leo Jackson, he's just like a father to me. I mean, they don't get any better than them, and Skull's the greatest sponsor out there, you know, the way they take care of their drivers and the team and everything. This is what Robert wanted, and it was worth waiting on.
But even after all the success in the Busch Series, Robert now realizes that he has to rely on other drivers for advice, including, of course, Harry Gant and the current driver for Richard Jackson Racing, Rick Mast.
Any of the drivers that won races, if you go up to them and ask them a question, they'll help you. They really will. Now, when you start getting up there and running with them, maybe outrun them, then things start tightening up. You know, when they see that you can do it on your own, then they turn you loose on it, you know. But they, you know, they don't want to see anybody come in here, do things wrong, get a bad name for themselves, get hurt, take a chance to take, or have a chance of taking their car out and getting another driver hurt. That's one of the main reasons it goes that way. But you've got to have that help. You simply can't do it on your own.
And Robert is anything but on his own. His ability to communicate with his crew chief may give him a leg up on the other rookie contenders as the season progresses. And being brothers means knowing what each other is thinking, well, some of the time.
There's times he wants to tell me how to drive the car, and there's times I want to tell him how to fix the race car. But, you know, we're brothers. We can really communicate without even talking to each other. You know, we give each other eye language there and get back and forth. But you know, we've got a great team here, and me and him, you know, he's the one that helped me get my very first race car started back in 1983.
One of the things that I think is the best is I've seen many situations where the crew chief says the driver ain't trying. The driver will say the crew chief ain't giving him what he wants. Well, I know he's giving 100%. He knows me, and I'm giving 100%, so that's not a factor.
Because of Robert's ability to listen and learn, that plus a lot of talent will certainly make him a factor in this year's Rookie of the Year race.
Thanks, Randy and Robert. Our time's up for today. Hope you enjoyed the show, and our thanks to the manager, Clyde Booth, and all the employees here at Darrell for allowing us to come in here. Happy Father's Day to all you dads out there. We'll see you again here on TNN for more on the Inside Winston Cup Racing.
Today's show has been brought to you by Texaco Clean System 3 Gasolines. Add more life to your car. Cold filtered Miller Genuine Draft, making the world a very cool place. And by Goodyear, #1 in racing, #1 in tires. Drivers, race teams, and race fans, have you ordered the 1995 Team Simpson catalog? Don't get left out of the action. Call 1-800-71-RACIN and join Team Simpson today. The official conversion van of Inside Winston Cup Racing is Gladiator by Glavelle. America's #1 luxury van, Glavelle. The way we put it together sets us apart.